Welcome to Coffee and Pizza. I hope you can enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Pizza. And for today, we have the incredible, the architect of the amazing tool called Kaido, Emile from Canada. Welcome to the podcast, Emile. How are you? Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very happy to be here. So I don't do podcasts that often yet, but hopefully it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, but you have amazing tool. Then more people will gonna contact with you because something you are doing is incredible. Then something you need to start to thinking is like put your face on the software. But
Yeah.
that's something we can talk later. But
Yeah.
from the beginning, I want to know from where are you from and what are you doing and where are you born and where are you raised and where are you start strolling stuff or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm from the French part of Canada. So I don't know if people, it's well known or not, but there are some French-speaking people in Canada. It's not all English. So I grew up on a farm, and I'm still near my parents, like in a small village outside of the big cities. I'm more of a guy like that, small city guy, small town. So I've done mostly. I come really from an engineering background, not necessarily a hacking background. So I've done computer engineering school, and then I moved on to more like backend stuff, infrastructure, before going into Kaido. And then basically my co-founder, Jan or Korbenik, depending on who you know him from, he's like a very prolific bug bounty hunter. And then he's also a friend from high school from 10 years back. So at some point, like two and a half years ago now, I was between contracts, and he said to me that he had this project in security, and I always liked security. I was always doing like CTFs and going to conferences, security conferences in Montreal and near in Canada. I went to DEF CON once, but outside of that, I don't go to many conferences. But yeah, so I was always interested, but never working in security really. So when he proposed me to work on this project, that was basically fitting my skills because I was mostly coming from an engineering background, and I wanted to learn to code in Rust, and he started it in Rust. So we started working on that, and kind of here we are, like 2.5 years later, still working on it.
That's incredible, and you opened many questions for me. That's good. The first one is like you told me you are for a small village, right?
Yeah.
And like you born with cows or something like that in the middle with the chickens and in the middle of the farm, something like that, or not?
Yeah, here it's more sanitized. Usually, like North America is more sanitized than sometimes Europe or other places. So that not necessarily, but yeah, we didn't have we did have chickens when I was little. So yes, we had chickens, and then I stayed I didn't have a computer until like very late compared to a lot of people like I feel these days, but and I didn't have like internet. Like I was really born, like I feel it's rare in my generation to be born with a modem, like the old stuff where you had to beep on the phone line and everything. Like that was like my childhood and early like high school until I was like 14 or something. That's still that. So because like in a small village you didn't have internet, like good internet, for until like very recently.
You and then what do you did before? Like what I mean, like what are you doing when you are younger in a small village? Like you, for example, you go to play with the kids or play with launch stones to the
Yeah, I mean for sure it's like it's a bit different because you can't move around as much, but you do move around a bit. I'd say like staying on basically I mostly did a lot of stuff on the farm, I would say, because like also like going to the village, it's also like you need to kind of a car or something, like it's not easy to do, so I stayed mostly here. And I don't know, it's a bit different than city life, and it's a bit different like in North America because we don't have like public transport, because even in Europe, even the small towns, you still have like train stations most of the time. Like I remember, like I love Europe, so I go once in a while, and I always like that you can go everywhere. Like it's super
Yeah,
easy
that's
to move
that.
around.
That's true. That's true. But in other hand, I believe it's like a very magical start, when you are younger, because now when you are younger, it's like everything is like you don't like it. It's like you are in the middle of nowhere. This is it. But when you are getting old, it's like, wow, I miss that.
Yeah,
But at least in my case, always I say when I'm retired, I will move to the village, because I want to take care of cows, take care of my food or something like that, and I don't want to touch any phone or any computer.
yeah. We try to have this middle ground nowadays to like, okay, I still am on the farm, renovated my house, and then try to do a balance between computer stuff and non-computer, because like, I don't know, I like both, but sometimes it gets annoying. Like people in computer, like people are very concentrated on problems that are very far away. When you go back outside in the real world, it's like, you don't need much sometimes.
Totally agree with you, and also I see many friends. Maybe I'm older than you. I am from '83, and I have friends older than me. I started when it was my mentors when I was younger, and most of them is like 55 or something like that. And most of them is retired and is living in a small village, and no more computer or something like that, because I understand like cybersecurity and also computer engineering is a job where you take your life, that's your life, your passion, like something you spend a lot of time on it. And after several years, you take the decision like, oh, I stop or I never ends, because finally can you be time consuming and a crazy stuff or crazy thing for your life, right? And same you mentioned before, like we need to try to find a balance. And if you did 50 years of cybersecurity or computer engineering, but you did that part, another one.
It's enough. You do other stuff, but
And then you tell me you are living now in a village, or you are living in the city center of Montreal?
No. I'm still in the village, so that's for me. But it's not very far away from Montreal. It's like half an hour. So
half an hour, but not in winter.
It's a bit longer in winter.
Because I know, I am living in Finland. Here it's so cold also. And, I have a friend of mine is from Canada, and he tells, Albert, when I go to the office, it's 30 minutes in summer, 1 hour and a half in winter.
Yeah. You need to get prepared. And you need to get the snow off the car or whatever.
And traffic jam most of the time, something like that. Then how do you do for have internet there? You have a Starlink?
No. Now it's crazy here in Canada. Like they installed fiber everywhere. Like the government like subsidized it at some point, and now we have I have 1.5 gigabit in my house.
Wow.
I don't need to go to the big city anymore. I can be in a random small village, middle of nowhere, and I have perfectly good internet.
That's super cool, because Trudeau stole your Bitcoin, but give you fiber. It's important.
It's not the same level of government. I don't know how it works in Spain already, but we have like the federal government is for whole Canada, and then you have provinces that each have their own government. So it depends on the smaller government.
I know. It's just was a joke there. Then when you start to discover the computers, then
I would say I had my first computer at, I'd say quite late. I'd say 12, something like that. 12 or something like that. So I was a lot. I think it's late now to have computers, like compared to other people. Some people don't have computers early, but some people do these days. So I think it's different. I think it's also different how you approach it. Like I approach it. I would say like before I was reading a lot of books, and I think I was always like looking into how you approach the computer depends on at what age you first touch it. I feel like and how also like what you do with it, how you and I let me rephrase it. I think it's interesting. Like nowadays, the younger generation, they start with a smartphone more than computers, and I think that's not super good, because like on smartphone, it's quite limited what you can do. I think I like our generation where even if we got a computer late or internet late, it still was like the full experience, because like when I started programming, it was because I was playing video games, and then at some point I was like, hey, can I make my own video games, you know?
Mhm.
And I started coding like that. And I think you can't do that really on the smartphone. If you like a game there, it's not easy to go to programming, where like when I was doing that, I just like open up an EDE, and we didn't have VS Code back then, but it was still like, I don't know, stuff like that. And I remember like coding my stuff in C or like C++, small games with SDL and those like libraries back in the days. And yeah, it was fun, but like you can't do that with smartphones. So I think it's interesting, like how generation changes. And before that, it was not before our generation. Like, I don't know how you grew up with computers, but it was also very different from when I grew up with computers. So I think, yeah.
Totally agree with you. You know, I was very early adopter because my family in that moment, before to go to bankruptcy, we have some money. And my family buy me, but I'm very old. I buy a Commodore 64. It's a very old computer.
Yeah.
And that's my first computer. After that, I have another like like I don't remember the name, like
Yeah.
old computers, but I always stay contact with computer, you know. But I never play video games at the beginning. You know, I really like to play video games, but something very common to everyone comes here to the podcast is like everyone start with video games, you know.
Mhm.
And I really love play video games, but from the beginning it's not my real approach, right? Always I was interested about challenges. My first challenge was hacking, you know, and
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
that's why I moved to cybersecurity.
Mhm.
But anyway, we are talking about you, and the thing here is like, okay, you told me you are late to the computer, but you start to develop your
Mhm.
own games, right?
Yeah.
And you start to develop in C.
Yeah, the first language I did was C.
You know, the
That's
first thing I did in C is the coffee machine. Yeah, I don't know, you know that. That's the typical one.
yeah.
What is your first project in C?
I think I think I did a lot of I think I did a lot of tutorials in C, and then I moved to C++ quite early because like you could have those like video games frameworks where you could build stuff. So I remember the first real program I did was like a card playing game where you had to like click on two cards, and if they're the same, you get a win, like those type of games. So I remember like working on that with small frameworks in C++. So I think that's the first like program that I remember that took me a lot of time to build. Yeah.
And C is complicated, we can say.
Yeah. And C and C++ and everything.
When I was in the school, I did space invaders, you know, space invaders
Yeah.
in C. It was the practice of the school, and it was so fun. But then, I mean, I don't know in Canada, but here in the school now, and other days, like many people have in the school, you have a computer or something like that. But I don't know in Canada, in your side, if it's normal or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I would say like it was like not very good at primary school, like early on, and then it was better during high school. We would spend our like lunch times on the computer, like enough that the supervisor always wanted to kick us out because we're staying too much in the computer place. And also, I was with my co-founder, Ian. Already at that point, like I remember we did like our first programs together in that room. So that brings memories. But yeah, I remember we did a bit of hacking, like just like overriding the administrator on old XP's machines, so we could install our own stuff in there. I remember that was fun, like just booting like Ubuntu's via CDs on those machines, just to bypass the Active Directory of this school and stuff like that. So yeah,
that's a good days when everything was more easy than today, because today hacking is totally different, right? It's very complicated for everyone, and some companies is taking more care about cybersecurity, and that's good for everyone, because finally, always I say, it's not about cybersecurity, it's the people, because everyone have data today, and we are not only protecting the data of the people, we are protecting people. Because if the hackers know about your places, and I don't know, the new tool have on the market is the name of fake OS or something like that. I was reading, like, with artificial intelligence, you can create a fake identity and it's selling in the black market for $15. Like that's crazy, because if someone have the real picture, like can destroy your life.
Yeah.
That's and that's how I always say, like I take care of the people, not only from the data, because we take care of the data. But going back a little bit, like you start to go to with your mates, and how was in the village, like for have friends in your, how do you connect with more people with the same with the same things on common or something you really like it?
I think I was very early on online. Like as soon as I got even dial-up, you could go to like our C channels and just like meet people there. So I think most of my friendships were via like that, and also like you had TeamSpeak. I think it was at the time like where before Discord it was a thing. Like you could like just have a TeamSpeak server and people would connect to that and you would talk with them. So I think I mostly was terminally online already very young. But it's okay. I think it's most of us these days. But yeah, it was mostly uncommon. I'm also an only child, so like you don't have a lot of people to talk to anyway, and so I was online very early, and I got a lot of friends there, and some of them I end up meeting like years after when I went to Europe and traveled a bit more. So that's also like fun when you meet someone that you've been chatting with for like, I don't know, 10 years and then you meet them in person.
So I totally agree with you, because I had this situation many times, because you meet people from from another side of the world, or maybe from another side of the ocean, and you meet that people. It's like it's really a good feeling. But now I have the question, like how do you take the decision to start, or how do you take the decision to start like working on it? Of you go to the university, or
I went to university. So here after high school we have a college type that lasts 2 years, and during that time I didn't do a lot of computer stuff because it was very intense. It's generally like generic science stuff, so math, like biology, all this stuff, and then it prepares you for like university after that. And then after I did 4 years of like computer engineering university, and that was very fun. I had lots of like, I went to a lot of CTF. I was like planning a lot of events I was part of the student group for computer stuff. So I did plan a lot of events and contribute also to the community and everything. So yeah, I got back into more security during that time, and also like just became good at coding and all of that. So,
but you was in the campus in the university, or you was you moved to another city, right?
Yeah.
That was the crazy life of the hacker, right?
Yeah. It's a bit more. It's not as crazy as like what you see in movies in university in the US. That's another level. Here it's more tame, like people. But it was interesting because where I went to university, it's a town that is most like there are a lot of students there because a lot of people don't come from the town. So it's like when the student move in, they increase the population by, I don't know, a couple thousand people, and then everybody kind of stays at the same place. So it's nice because you don't go to your parents. Like when you live with your parents, it's like you go back to your parents, you don't necessarily hang out with friends. So it's a bit different, like when everybody has their own apartments and we do parties in everybody's apartment, or we do hacking sessions and in different university. Like I remember like staying like all night at universities, like in the rooms and just doing like either some homeworks or like because we were too late or hacking stuff.
You like, oh, I learned something, or shut. But also for you, like if you come from a small village, can be a very, very shock situation, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like something new for you. Like I don't know how it was for make friends at that time. It was so hard, or something like easy for you.
Well, I got it in a group, so like I got a lot of friends through this like university group, and then also we did some inter-university competitions, so I met a lot of friends that way also. So it was nice. Yeah. So what I liked is you had a bunch of people that were passionate about the same things at the same place. So that's the first, versus like before where you just mixed up with random people, right? That like they don't necessarily have the same passion as you or anything. So that was the first first time basically. And I'm glad I did that before COVID, because I know some people, I finished before university before COVID, but I know some people that were at university during COVID, and it was not nice. Like you can't do anything. You're at home, and
Then
I think
then you are very younger, right? Then then you are new in the market, like
I've been out of university for like 5 years now. Something like that.
And then after the university, you did some master or something like that, or you passed or you move forward to stay working in the market? Or?
Yeah, I started working. It's not that common to do masters in computer, at least in North America. So I know it's more common in Europe. I have some friends that do a masters, and it's more common in Europe, I would say, than North America to do a master, at least for computer people. So I started working as a. Well, first I wanted to like travel after university, but then COVID hit, so I didn't travel.
Then you can travel from Google Maps, right?
Yeah, exactly.
With a script view.
So I started working as a freelance, and I worked on different stuff, not computer, like not security related necessarily, but just like working on various projects, big and small companies. And then I like freelance because I like this. I don't know, a lot of hackers also independent people, I feel like, because kind of needs this kind of mindset to be independent people. And I'm not like a fan of necessarily being employed at one company. I like to change stuff. I don't know. I'm a good freelancer, I would say. So I started doing that.
And also you mentioned something super interesting. Here in Europe, it's not very normal, right? But I believe like this new era or something like that, it will become and gonna push hard the market, because we need to start to understand the mentality of before, to stay in one company and stay there for 10 years. This something gonna change.
Yeah.
And I believe so. And I believe everyone will move forward from one project to another one.
Yeah.
Like you will be hired only for the one project. When this project ends, you move for another project inside of the company, or maybe not. Who knows? Yeah. And that's something we need to start to understand. The market will move something like that. And finally, I believe it's good for everyone, because the companies will start to push from the best professionals. And I believe it will be good for the market. But maybe in United States, I don't know, in Canada now we can talk about that in Canada. But here in Europe is something not very common. And if the companies see you change very, very every 6 months, every year from the company, you're gonna get a lot of questions.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's kind of still is. Here it's like, I would say here now it's more normal that people switch every 2-3 years. I would say like now it's not frowned upon to change, but more than that, it can be frowned upon. So it's still a mentality. I think also not every people likes. Like some people like a lot of stability, so it depends on the person. I would say it's okay like to do both. It's the same thing. Like you have people in our field, like in cybersecurity, that have jobs, and you have people that do bug bounty or things like that. So you kind of need different types of roles for different types of people. It's totally okay.
But I believe it's fake stability, because the stability doesn't.
Yeah. That's true. That's less stable than it was. And I think also like we're not like at will employment like the US here, but it's not that far. Like you can be fired very easily. And I think compared to Europe, where you used to have like very, very strong like social guarantees, then when you're employed, you have like a couple. I think Finland is still like that, right? You have like 3 months or like if you're
yes. But I believe it's a problem. That's not good for the companies. In my point of view, because you know what happened? The people average don't want to move to the company, and the professionals don't want to move to the company because don't want to lose a compensation. That means like you are wasting and losing talent, and you are promoting people not talented or without talent, because need to stay there, and you cannot fire up. That I believe that's something negative for the market, and that's my opinion. You know, as a project manager, something I can see every time, because when you work in a project management, you have interaction with many teams and many their stakeholders, and sometimes you have problem with someone and you say, hey, why this guy is working here, he's terrible, like, because he's 10 years in the company.
Yeah. No, here it's less than that. We're closer to the US in terms of this mentality, but I still like that we have healthcare covered, so I'm okay with that.
but it's okay. But okay, I want to move to another side. It's like you mentioned something very, very interesting. It's like I was working as a developer and something like cybersecurity, and a few days ago I was reading something from LinkedIn or how you want to say. It's like someone saying, why don't have people working in cybersecurity? And that person says something very interesting. Like, if you see the salary of cybersecurity is less than the salary of developers. If you go to developer, like medium level of developer, you're going to get, example, 50,000. Okay. But maybe for 50,000 in cybersecurity, you need to have high skills, the best skills. And that's why many people, like many software developers, don't want, maybe some developers love hacking and love cybersecurity, but don't want to move to cybersecurity because they're gonna get less money.
Yeah,
and that's something it's happening. I don't know it's happening also there in Canada.
Yeah. There's also less roles, so it's harder. Like if you want to switch like companies and things like that, to have like a full-time cybersecurity, you need to be in a big company. Basically, you have, because no startup is hiring like just a few of them are, but it's really rare to be in this. So if you want to go like if you like smaller companies, then you don't really have a choice but to like do either DevOps or something that has security in it, but not necessarily being full-time security. So yeah, it's a problem. But yeah, compensation is a big problem also for cybersecurity.
And also, I was checking something like a few days ago. I see like, I don't remember, it was in Spain. It was for I was checking like if someone is trying to hire someone in cybersecurity, say junior with OSCP, like for junior, like you don't understand the market, and that's something I believe is something happening. I don't know if with your run, it's something you feel like when you go to another places to explain what are you doing, it's like difficult to get customers or explain your business.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, it is difficult. Like some people, if you're in the space, it's easy to get because you're used to the tooling. But like trying to sell it to big companies, some people have red teams inside of the big companies, so that's easy. You can sell to a red team, like they know what they're doing. But for a lot of companies, and you would be surprised how many like big companies don't really have competent security people. Like what they want is like one-click scans and like automated stuff that, in my opinion, doesn't catch much, if anything. So yeah, it's kind of harder to explain because we're still in this shift from like security being a cost center to being something that brings revenue. Like the problem is in cybersecurity is we don't have good models to tell a CFO, hey, this is not a cost. This is saving you money. Like, and this is a problem that I think as an industry we are starting to like focus on, but we're not necessarily like coming from financial background, so we do need more help from outside. But I think it's going to come also from the insurance part of it, as you have like more cybersecurity. Like right now, cybersecurity insurance is crazy expensive. Like you cannot get it for a company. So. And one of the reasons is because you have no way to assess if a company is actually doing something like legit for security, or they're just like checking boxes and not really doing anything. So I think once we get more mature as an industry, like doing that and proving that we're doing a good job and it's just not checkbox security, then we have a financial model so we can like explain to a CFO why we need X amount of $1 million for cybersecurity, and then we can have like better salaries for people. So I think it's a process and it's going to take many years, but I think we're going in the right directions. But you have also companies that are in advance in that process and companies that are very late in that process. So, yeah.
But the good thing, you say something very, very interesting, is like many companies today, I believe at least, is moving to security by default. It's like when you start a project, I believe like a few years ago, when you start a project, like the cybersecurity arrive to the end of the project. Okay, we create something at the end of the project, we securitize, we put the security of the project.
Yeah.
But now it's like from the beginning, you take care of the security. If it's not possible to accomplish the security, maybe it's impossible to create a project. And that's something I believe it's good, because the companies start to understand many times. But something you said like super interesting is like many companies don't understand what it means like red team, like real red team, because most of the companies understand red team like I use Nessus, or I send Nessus every week or once a day or something like that to take care of my infrastructure, and that's it. And same as you mentioned before, is like Nessus doesn't have the solution for everything.
No, and I think we're gonna get better scanners with AI, like eventually, but they're still not gonna be like, it's still gonna be a machine. Like you can tune a machine, you can make it very good, but it's still a machine. Like I've yet to see something as good as like a real person attacking a website that knows what they're doing. And I don't think we're gonna get there anytime soon. So yeah, but you would be surprised. Like I talked to big telcos in Canada and they don't have a security team. I'm like, what the hell? Like
no, but
they say like, oh, we do a pen test once a year. I'm like, are we still in 1999? I don't know. It's like, what the hell? This once a year?
But here we can move to another point. I believe it's super interesting. Like something you mentioned, like many companies today is talking about how I can say, it's moving to bug bounty, and that I believe it's a good choice. It's a good idea. It's a good thing. But when you move to bug bounty, you have two problems. The first one is like you need to understand what means bug bounty, and not many companies understand what means bug bounty. And another choice is like, okay, I have a bug bounty team, but I don't have a read team in my company, and that exactly that cannot be the idea, because who tell you, like the bug hunter gonna tell you, I found this vulnerability for 20,000 and you pay me 20,000, when in the black market someone pay me 200,000.
Yeah, no, for sure. And people get frustrated with bug bounties. Like if your company doesn't have the right mindset for it, like if it's not ready to pay enough, or if it's like it doesn't approve, like, or if it takes like too long then you're not gonna have people like trying to hit your website. So you're gonna say, oh, it's a waste of time, but it's a waste of time because it's like not the right mindset. It's not, and you need people to like filter out what's really important, what's not important. So yeah, it's an education on both sides. I think a lot of hackers also don't understand how big companies work, and I think they need to understand that sometimes it takes months to fix stuff because that's the way it is. Like those companies move very slowly, like very, very slowly. And it can be frustrating, but that's the reality of those big companies. And developers, they don't necessarily have good developers, and inside sometimes it's outsourced. So by the time your bug gets to a developer in India, like, not to shame India, but they have a lot of outsourcing, and sometimes not the best quality. But
you have the language barrier.
And also you have the language barrier. So so
culture,
and culture. So it goes like through 10 different intermediary before it gets fixed, and then they have tests, and then they need to like deploy it to production. Because the problem is like it still doesn't hurt enough the companies for them to prioritize it. Like once they get like we're starting to get laws, at least in Canada, where like if there's a breach, they actually have like financial like punishment. Yeah, exactly. You need to have financial pain, otherwise like as a company, it's not that they're not like willing to do that, but it's always at the end of the day, it's always about money. So it's like if it costs more money to like secure it than pay the bounties or whatever when we get hacked or whatever, then they're gonna do that. And if it costs more to pay people when there's a breach, then they're gonna secure it. That's just simple math. So,
and something I was hearing like in some YouTube channels say, every bug bounty is a pen tester less. That means like when you find a bug hunter, that means you are not hiring pen testing. And I believe that's a terrible idea, as we mentioned, because you need the both sides,
Yeah.
But here we are talking about pen testing, about companies or whatever. But what are you doing here?
Yeah.
What do your company do?
And we're half an hour in and we didn't explain like what I did. Yeah. So yeah, Kaido is it's a tool. It's a proxy basically. If you're familiar, like the most common one is either like Burp Suite or Zap. So we're kind of
best.
Yeah. I know you're a Zap user, so it's okay. It's okay. I don't take it. So we're trying
before Kaido was the best, and now we're gonna explain what.
Yeah. So we're kind of a new player on the market. We basically started Kaido because we wanted to bring something new to the market that didn't exist. We were tired of like having this huge Java apps just take all the RAM and being local and everything. So what we did is we created this core in Rust. So like the proxy is a Rust program, takes little amount of RAM. We also took advantage of now that we have very fast SSDs, so we can store a lot of stuff in disk and retrieve it very fast. So that's why we started Kaido like that. And then we also put a front end that is web-based. So you can actually deploy like Kaido on your own box, but you can also deploy it on your VPS. You can deploy it in the cloud, whatever you want. You can Dockerize it. It's very flexible. And then you can either access it via, like we created a little desktop application, but it's just a shim. Basically, you can go directly in your browser and access it directly with a browser if you want to. So that's kind of like why we build the software. And now we're trying to build like one of the things that we are annoying with like extension systems with existing tools is you have to code in Java, or like you have to install those crazy Jython thing or Ruby Java thing. I don't know. Kind of crazy. So we're kind of trying to build a no-code solution where you can have little scripts and you have boxes that you can connect, and then create workflows that way. And this year is really the year where we're trying to like expand that a lot, allow more customization. I think that was requested by the community a lot, the customization part of it, but it's very hard to do. So we're trying to go by it slowly, but still like providing more and more customization as time goes on. So yeah. So I think that's a good resume.
Yes, and something you didn't mention, I believe, is super interesting, the possibility to do collaboration with more people.
Yeah. We're not there yet a lot, but my end vision is that there are two ways to collaborate, either on the same instance. So you deploy one Kaido instance to a VPS and then two people can connect to it. So that we are not there yet. You can like do it if you use the same Kaido account because we have access control basically on the instance. But yeah, eventually I want to enable that as a form of collaboration. And also I want to enable people to share like stuff between Kaido instances if they have their own Kaido instances via end-to-end encryption, like just so we have our Kaido cloud that we worked a lot on for that. So I know some people are turned off by having like a cloud system that is integrated. All your data stays local, like we don't ship anything to our cloud. It's for access control and eventually sharing features. And I don't know, other stuff that people want, like Burp Collaborator, we're going to have at some point an equivalent for us. So those like require a cloud. And also like we moved away from, one big difference with other systems is we moved away from the licensing. So usually you used to buy like a Burp license for $500. It's a one-time for one computer, right? So our model is very different. Like you can pay per month and you have unlimited machines. Like it's very different. So it's per seat. So it does require like to be connected to some system out there to verify that you have like your profile and everything. So yeah.
And also I believe it's very interesting, like the possibility to stay on cloud, because one of the good things, like the people is like, I want to have everything in my computer, but the bad thing is like your computer fails. That's the first.
Yep.
Your computer can have problems, and your computer can have a lot of issues. And the good thing is like when you develop in Rust, it's like your application when you use it, you feel it's super fast. You know, it's smooth. How you move, well, like how do you use it? That's super interesting. And another point of view, like okay, you can put it on the cloud, and the people can be concerned about the data, etc. But you can do zero knowledge technology, like you don't know nothing. Then like it's in the cloud, but I don't know. You know, you have your passcode, and in your passcode is encrypted. Like the same is doing Big Warden. Big Warden is doing the same.
Yeah. And that's kind of like my approach to it is like you host the instances. At some point we might offer hosted instances. I have some ideas, like you could have like HackerOne programs that offer like a one-click solution where you get a hacking environment already set up for a program. So those are like ideas we think about. But mostly right now, it's like you have your own instances. We don't touch your data. We don't want to know about your data. The only thing I'm bringing to the table with our cloud basically is like, oh, we can build collaborations on there. We can build like all of the cloud systems that you complementary cloud services. Like we have an assistant, an AI assistant that we built on top of it. So things like that, because we're very conscious that people in security are like very privacy oriented. Like it's so totally okay. I think it's having but like you said, basically, I don't want to know your data. Like my goal in life, I don't want to know it. Like because it opens me like as a company, like it's just so much liability. Like I don't want it. I just don't want it. So for me,
You are not Facebook.
no, exactly. Like I don't sell your data. Like I sell you a product, and I think that's interesting. Like
And
it's different thing.
And something you mentioned, like very interesting, like we have artificial intelligence. That's not true 100%. You have connection with OpenAI, right?
Yeah.
Then we can say like it's not artificial intelligence.
No.
You have an API behind, but I know you are trying to create your own artificial intelligence or connect with open source LLM, right?
Yeah, it's not easy to do like at the size, the team size we're on at the moment. But yeah, eventually, like I see a way where like, okay, you've submitted this bounty, like you've had your bounty, it's public anyway. So why not like contribute that request of like, or that payload to like a general payload, and then in exchange you receive payload from other people, right? So I think there is an interesting future where we can actually collaborate everybody together by sharing those people, and then we build a model on top of that, so that actually is good. Because I totally agree with that. Like right now it's quite limited what we do. It just it was an experiment to do some things. I think what I like with the assistant that we're gonna bring this year is like, okay, you want to build a workflow for like doing something, like you want to decode a particular format or anything. You can ask the AI to like give you at least a basic workflow, like a starting point for that. Or like we have this new language that we call HTTPQL right now that is like allows you to filter your request in the proxy. So it's a bit like Wireshark filtering. So we can add a conversational AI like OpenAI on top of that. So like, I want to detect an XSS and potential XSS and whatever, like this domain, and then it's going to write you the proper HTTPQL query for it. So those are kind of things like where the conversational AI is actually very good at. But yeah, it's it.
But I have it's not my friend. I have some guy here from Spain. I know him. He have a LLM or artificial intelligence, and this artificial intelligence is focused on cybersecurity. Can create malware, can develop malware, can do many things, because it's a own software. Like it's created with LLMs, but with Llama, because Llama code is very well.
Yeah,
Mixtral, and it connected everything in its own house, because have the graphic cards, and it's super maintenance of that. But the good thing is it's on house, and maybe that can be a good idea. Maybe you can contact with that people and you say, hey, you have the API, and maybe I can do your subscription. And another idea, maybe someone want to create or develop their own AI with a Dolphin Mixtral ALM, because it's unlimited, like it's not censorship. And that's good, because the problem most of the time when you work with artificial intelligence, at least in my experience, I don't know, now we can talk about your product, but have some limitations. When you send like the payload or something like that, go, can you help me here? It's like, no, I don't gonna help you,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we've seen that more and more recently, like, because it's moving so fast that we, honestly, as a startup, we can't keep up at this point. Like we have so many stuff to do that we kind of gave up a bit on the AI end of last year. But yeah, I agree. I started seeing that a lot in our assistant. That we know that like some queries, they just say, oh, we can't do it because of whatever filtering system that they have for anti-piracy. Like, a bit stupid. So yeah, but also like the space of like self-runnable LLMs, like that was not there like 6 months ago. Like this super new. So that's also a challenge as a business. Like, if I invest like 2 months of work to like do this, and then is it gonna be relevant in 6 months? Like, for me, it's not necessarily like the best invested time versus like working on something that I know, a feature that I know is gonna be there for a long time in the product. So it's always like we tried it, basically tried it. Oh, what can we do with it as a thought experiment and just like a small feature, but it's definitely not one of our core like selling point.
Exactly, but anyway, it's a good approach, and you did something very, very important. I believe it's a very smart movement. Like, I don't want to take care of things gonna change in 6 months, or maybe gonna change because I am developing a product, and it's your new toy. We can say like 2 years on of the product is like new, and I believe like not today because today is a podcast, but I hope someday you can come and do a demo for the people, and maybe we can do it here in whatever. But I believe you have a very good product in 2 years. And someone told me a few months ago, like in 1 year, the artificial intelligence can develop a software completely, like with no fails.
Yeah, we'll see.
Like who one told me like 15 days ago, and we will see what's gonna happen. But a few days ago, I was checking like new Copilot artificial intelligence. It's possible. It's not the Copilot from Microsoft. It's another one. It's a collaborative one with Mixtral open and with open source LLM, 11 million parameters. And this one is it can create collaborative developer and can develop almost the software like super good. But now this is the beginning. We will see what gonna happen, because same as you mentioned, like 6 months ago, this technology doesn't exist.
No.
And now it's like in 6 months we have incredible products, like incredible things that's coming into the market, and I believe it's super interesting the moment we are living, and super nice also for you. I hope that artificial intelligence can help you to create more software in Rust.
Yeah, no, I started like using it actually like I think 2 weeks ago now. I started using the Copilot because it was like announced by GitHub, so I thought, whatever, I'm gonna try it. It's $20 for a month or something. So and now I use it like more than I thought I would. Like, it's actually better than I thought it would be. So they made a lot of progress on that. Like, I'm not like, from a moral perspective, I'm not like super happy because they sent a lot of my data and they ingested a lot of my own code to build that without like any like money. But at the same time, the way I see it now is like it makes me like very much more productive. So if I can charge that more, like, it's like, it's okay.
And that's something you said, like, I really like your point about that. Like, I am more productive. And that's something I always to try to explain to the people when we are talking about artificial intelligence. Is like, artificial intelligence will destroy jobs, not because the people don't we hire it. It's destroy jobs because the people hire it, it's more productive.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like, it was crazy. The haha moment for me was like, I was writing like some Python stuff for like, okay, totally unrelated, but it's a side funny story because I use Wave Apps, which is like a accounting software that I know probably some people listening probably know about it. And they have like terrible export features. So I just like took a look at their API. It's like, it's a GraphQL API. So I started poking around the GraphQL API, like, why not? and then I started writing like Python codes for that. So basically I did some Python there, and I put the Copilot or like testing it, and I wrote like literally like 2 letters, and it generated me like a paragraph, and it is exactly what I wanted. Like,
yeah, blow your mind.
What do they need more of me for now? It's like, so I think that's what I like. Sometimes it gets it wrong, but when they get it right, it saves you like a lot of time. You might type 120 words per minute, but like you're never going to be as fast as this.
And also how it's possible to create a better solutions, because sometimes I take Python, I did, and I put there and create something better, with lower code and more faster and more iterative, like everything, and that's crazy. But with Python it's very well, but with Golang it's not very well.
Yeah, Rust is also,
and Rust.
Yeah, it's also sometimes it gets some like for boilerplates, Rust boilerplates, it's okay. But when it needs to understand like lifetimes in Rust and stuff like that, it get confused very easily. So I would say it's getting there, but it's not like 100%.
Yes, but it's doing a very good job. But at least in my opinion, the last I was using Turbo, the 3.5 Turbo, 60K, and in my opinion, 3.5 Turbo it's better than 4 GPT-4 because GPT-4, the truth is not our GPT-4 because it was a scam. It's a collaborative of GPT 3.5, and yeah, it's true. And I believe 3.5 is more accurate in the results, at least when you are developing. With language models, it's different. When you are writing or you want to create a letter or you want to send a beautiful poem or something like that, this is better GPT-4. But when you are doing coding, I believe 3.5 work better. But it's my feeling. I don't know if you have the same feeling. But
yeah, right. I just use the Copilot, the GitHub Copilot right now, so I don't know. I haven't tested. Like, it's very new. I was very much against it, like for a very long time, and then now I kind of now I'm gonna try it. Like, so we'll see. I need to test a few.
Now you can make more money.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I saw. It's like, okay, I can be more productive. So
exactly. Finally, you are freelance, right? Then something I want to talk now is not about money, but I want to talk about the future of Kaido. Like, where do you see Kaido in 1 year? Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, so the goal for this year is really twofold. One fold on the development side is really to allow extensibility a lot more. So the way we want to do it is with those workflow systems. Also, like that's like on the backend side. So
sorry, something we need to mention very interesting also Kaido have is like the possibility to do no code workflow.
So that's the workflow system with no code or like small scripts and that. So we're gonna expand that to allow you to build like we took a look at like what are the most popular Burp Suite plugins, and a lot of them are like either you respond like on a request, you do something, or like you run a test, or a lot of them are like that. So that's our primary focus to do. We call that passive workflow. So that's what I'm working on right now. So we have to convert workflows so conversions between like, I don't know, you base 64 in code. So all that is already built into the software. So you can do if you want to do 2 base 64, then you put 2 node base 64 and then you have your result, you know? So I think one of the goals is to integrate those workflows a bit more like in our other tools. And then the second part is like having those passive workflows where you react to like, oh, you have a new response. I want to run like a regex on it to flag an issue, a potential issue. So that system is going to come in Q1 or Q2, depending on how soon we finish it. And we also added as a thought experiment, we added like this new CSS and JS override. I don't know if you saw it, like it kind of blew up like 2 weeks ago. So you can inject like JS and CSS directly in the front end app. And people went crazy with it. Like they created one guy like created basically a team. You can change the team between like 5 or 6 teams, and he added buttons in our code. We're like, okay, how do you do that? Sometimes like, so we're gonna try to provide a more stable API on the front end, so you can actually like create some extensions there, and yeah. So that's kind of like on the accessibility side, that's a big part of it. And then obviously on the business side, as a personal business, like Kaido is we're 3 people. We try to like one of the goals is to make it sustainable. So it's been 2 years and we still have like a lot of contracts and stuff on the side because we can't live out of Kaido. So one of the goals also this year is to try to make it as sustainable, eventually try to have a decent salary out of it. So that's also one of the goals. So because we have a free tier, pretty generous. We're gonna change that a bit. We're still believing in the free tier, but we also want people to contribute to the project. So we also need to make it a bit painful. So you subscribe if you use it day to day. I think it's perfectly normal if you subscribe to the software. So yeah,
that's super cool. Also, you are I don't know, you have the possibility if you introduce the application in Kali or maybe in Parrot.
Yeah,
Now-
we're trying to get that like natively eventually. Like, I think what we found is that it's not the main focus right now because like we basically ship an update every 2 weeks. So like the version that would ship with the Kali built in would be very outdated. So I think what we're trying to do like sooner is to have a PPA, for example, so you can like add the PPA directly and then get updates there faster. So I think that's going to be like our primary focus for like the distribution side. And then eventually once we're getting a bit more stable, like having the app. I think we decided to build the desktop app. Like a lot of people use the desktop app when they start because they're used to having a desktop app, even though you don't really need it with Kaido. I think our desktop app for Linux is it's not working super well. It's better than it used to, but we're using like Tori, which is like a Rust alternative to Electron. It uses the OS web view, so it's not like a Chrome that's bundled. It's nice in principle because like you're more efficient, or like always like to be more efficient. But in the reality is like the web views on Linux are not that great. Like they're not very good because they use like old version of WebKit and yeah. So we had a lot of problems with Linux desktop users reporting like issues with it. So we do our best, but like on Linux, generally I still recommend people use the CLI and then either a browser or something like that.
I use with CLI because it works better. But also maybe you can, I don't know if it's possible, but maybe have the possibility to contact with some small BPS companies. For example, Digital Ocean is not it's not a small one, but maybe we talk with Amazon for create a stance with one click, or Google create something one click, because I believe that you have a free tires in Google, and I believe with the free tire or maybe the $5 tire is enough for use application, because you don't need a power computer.
No, you don't need we don't consume much RAM. Like sometimes you will see RAM go up from like the baseline is like 30 megabytes, and then if you have like huge requests that we need to parse, like obviously if you have like a file download of 500 megabytes, I still need to like store it in memory at some point to aggregate it. But outside of that, once you've passed that, it goes back to whatever like the baseline.
And most of the people use your tool is bug hunters. That means many people is paying for VPS, and then pay a little bit more for instance for a tool you're gonna use and save your time and save money. Can be a good idea, right? Because finally, I like to use Zap, or I like to use Burp Suite, but the problem is like it's failing. It's consuming all the RAM of my VPS. You know, if I need to move to another strongest VPS, it's a lot of money because you move to 16 gigs of RAM. And it's like, then for me, not have any sense. You know, I finally run in my computer. I take the things from my VPS and I pay in my ass. And something like if you create something like Kaido, and you can sell the pools, or you can sell the things you can do in the background, and you come back. That's incredible. You know. Then
no, that's true, because like that's the thing also, like if you need to have, we don't have that much scanning capabilities right now, but like I don't know, in the future, once we have a bit more scanning, you can leave those scans, like you open a VPS near your target, you know your target is in like, I don't know, US East 1, and then you just open the VPS in US East 1. So if you're scanning, it's much faster because you don't have latency. You have more latency between you and your machines, but that's less important when you're doing a mass scan than the latency between the scanner and the target. So that's kind of like what I'm thinking also, like in terms of future development.
And that's something I was thinking, like we need to change the bug hunters, because everyone is doing mass scans, and it's like it's not productive. You know, if I have friends, I have a team, like everyone is doing the typical I don't know, the NNS probe or the typical finder but everyone is doing the same. Like that's a lot of consume of internet for nothing. You know, like we can put it somewhere and everyone got it. You know, because Finally, as you mentioned, most of the tools or most of the bugs you find is manually. When you find an access or you find something like a script or something like that, or maybe with automations, but automations in applications like Kaido, it doesn't have any sense. Like everyone is running this. Then I believe that we're gonna stay here talking hours and hours because I really like your conversation. I like to talk with you. But in my point of view, I don't want to steal more of your time because I know you're a busy guy.
We're all busy people, I get, but it's okay.
Then only I need to say thank you very much for that time, for sharing that time with me. And it was a pleasure. And I hope to see you soon.
Yes, same. Invite me anytime. I'm happy to come back and discuss other stuff. Also, not necessarily Kaido.
Yeah, we are a small channel, but we are trying to grow. We are not TCM, but we are trying to do my best.
No, I like your to just encourage people to build new communities. So I'm always happy to even if it's a small channel. Like for me, we started small. Also, like we're getting a bit bigger now. Like I'm happy to contribute to any community, and I like when bigger channels also like help us. So I think it's always collaborative in our space.
Also, I want to mention something. I believe it's super important. This can be the end of the this is the end, and you have donation. You have a donation website or something like that. Forget donation for the people, or only you have the possibility to buy your tool. Like if you have a donation, we can put on the link below, and the people can send you money.
Well, you can buy the pro versions. Like if you use that I think that's the best way to support
to contribute. You right?
Yeah. It's if you use the tool, like just buy the pro version. That's the best way to help us. Otherwise, you can join the Discord and just like help us with the bugs. We're very like open in terms of development. You can like our roadmap is all GitHub issues that are public and people vote on them, so we can know like what the community wants us to work on basically. So that helps us a lot. And I think we're more trying to like become a very professional company. Like we have a product, you can buy it, you can use it as a professional tool day to day. It's mature. So I think
it's a question of time. And the problem here, only I see is like you are filling a product gap, and the big company is gonna see you are filling a product gap. But the good thing is like you have the relation with the people, and that's bringing you to another level. And that's it, man. Then, Emil, thank you very much for your time again. And I hope to see you again.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, bro. A big hat from Finland.
Yeah. Well, happy to be here. So
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.